As you can see, we have ODM Loupi representing Chosen One from the same clan, and he's going to be bringing the Empire against RTK Alrik, our #1 seeded player in the HW Season 6 playoffs. And so we'll be bringing Britonia, and this is their first round. So let's see who comes out with the edge after round 1. Now, starting with our Australian player here, ODM Loupi, we are going to have the Empire. 1, 2, 3 swordsmen, one of which will be the Sigmar Sons. Going to have some spearmen down here, and then a whole lot of mobility. Going to have outriders, looks like 2 of them. We're going to have Knights of the Blazing Sun and some Demogryph Knights with halberds. Other than that, we will be seeing a single unit of regular Demogryph Knights. And then we're going to have the Hammer of the Witches way back here in the back line. Other than that, we are going to be looking at a leadership squad that will consist of an Amber Wizard and a Jade Wizard with Karl Franz. Now, going back to those wizards who appear to both be on top of horses, Amber Wizard will have the Manticore Summon, Transformation to Kadan, and the Jade Wizard will have Regrowth and Earthblood. Other than this, up in the air, Karl Franz will be bringing Galmaraz, Stand Your Ground, Hold the Line, and Blood Roar because of his lovely Griffin mount, Deathclaw. Now, after looking through that relatively small and unorthodox Empire build, let's go take a look at the Bretonnians. Now, Bretonnians going to have 1, 2, and 3 units of Spearmen at Arms. Make that 4, because there's one over here too. Then we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4 units of just regular old Men at Arms. In the center, we're going to have Peasant Bowmen. It looks like all 3 of them will have pox arrows. And then we're going to have a very strong cavalry force in the form of Knights of the Realm, some Questing Knights, the Companions of Quenelle, a regiment of renowned Questing Knights, another unit of Questing Knights, bringing it to a total of 3, and then a second unit of Knights of the Realm over here on the Bretonnian left. Up in the air, we have 2 Paladins on top of Pegasus, and they will be bringing Foe Seeker, and it doesn't look like anything else besides it. So, besides that, we have the Fey Enchantress on top of her Unicorn, and she will be bringing Regrowth, Earthblood, Mist of the Lady for that Mortis-like ability, as well as Life Bloom. And that's going to round out the Bretonnian army. And now it's time to see who comes out on top. A lot of infantry for the Empire to deal with here. But if they can get some good cycle charging going with their Knights of the Blazing Sun, I'm sure they'll be up to the task. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting fight. Just minimal infantry for the Empire. I think they're a bit outgunned in terms of cavalry as well, since we have, the 2 Demogryph Knights with halberds are nice, but you have 3 Questing Knights and 2 Knights of the Realm. Going to be a tough thing to win. So I do think the more difficult battle to win here is going to be for ODM Loupi. Not saying it isn't possible, but I just think with this army, he can't afford to make many mistakes because it's so small that if, a component of it falters and breaks, I just think the Bretonnians will overwhelm them with their vastly superior troop count, almost 2 to 1 here. Liking the approach here, the Companions of Quenelle trying to stay down here away from the cannon sites, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough. They can't hide from the Hammer of the Witches, and it's still going to be getting in there, killing some Knights. It looks like they're down 10 models already. A significant loss, to be sure. Peasant Bowmen are now in range, shooting at the Spearmen. The Spearmen do have bronze shields, so they'll be able to block about 35% of those incoming shots as long as they're in the front. Alright, the Sigmar Sons are diving out into combat against Men-at-Arms, but a counter charge from the Questing Knights is going down too. They're just going to kiss them and then turn back around relatively quickly, and now the Hammer of the Witches are going to be shooting them in an act of revenge. Over here, Paladins getting shot by the Outriders still. The Bretonnians seem to be playing it very cautious. We'll see how they do from here on out, but to me it just looks like the Bretonnians, once they overwhelm this line, if they can get all of their cavalry in the back line at once, I think they'll be in a very, very strong position, and it looks like they may be going for it right now as the Questing Knights get into formation. Here come the Demogryph Knights. diving into combat, but they're going to be outnumbered 3-1. Knights of the Realm and 2 questing knights, including the Companions of Quenelle. And over here, we're going to see Knights of the Blazing Sun and the second unit of Demogryph Knights coming over. And it looks like we're going to see an upgraded Earthblood going down on top of both sides here. And this is really going to be the key engagement to decide who comes out on top. Karl Franz is fighting a Paladin one-on-one in the air and absolutely demolishing him with some huge hits. And then we're going to see a Manticore go down on the ground and start helping the Empire forces try and terror out a lot of this Bretonnian cav. Looks like Karl Franz is going to dive in. Gal Maraz has been popped, and that may be enough to turn the tide, but needs to act quickly. One of the Demogryph Knights is routing. The Knights of the Blazing Sun, I believe, have already routed. And there goes the other unit of Demogryph Knights. But the Bretonnians, in turn, are taking a lot of damage in their cavalry. But I just don't know if the Empire has enough meat on the bones to stem the tide of this Bretonnian advance now that the Demogryph Knights are routing and the Knights of the Blazing Sun have been dealt with. Karl Franz is a boss, but he is now completely outnumbered. There's a Paladin on top of him with the support of some Bretonnian cavalry. And Earthblood upgraded going down once again, but Karl Franz looking like he's in a bad place here. And RTK Alrik Rahl looking really strong in the balance of power and also just on the field of battle. You know, Karl Franz getting a rout here, and I'm not sure if he's going to come back from that. He may not even get off the ground at this point, guys. Looks like he's going to shatter right there and possibly die in the near future. Paladin getting in on top of him, and there goes Karl Franz, dead as a doornail. The Paladin has finished him off, and with that, I think the Empire's army back has been broken, and don't know if we're going to see them do much more from here. Demogryph Knights with halberds still in combat with the Knights of the Realm and some, 2 Knights of the Realm, but they are going to lose that. And now the balance power is just really getting out of hand here. Going to be seeing the Amber Wizard and the Jade Wizard both get knocked out, and army losses kicking in from there. A very heated exchange, but this is where the battle was decided in this big old blob engagement between the Empire and the Bretonnian cavalry forces. Peasant Bowman trying to slow him down with some poison. Looks like they're going to successfully do so, and Mr. Paladin is going to keep on chasing him down, and it looks like the Sons of Sigmar are going to be the only thing left on the field. Yeah, I mean, kind of standing by what I said initially. I don't think this army was lost before it started, but I think it was just going to be really tough from the beginning for the Empire, because the Bretonnian had, once again, a complete cavalry advantage and infantry advantage in terms of just like, they outnumbered the Empire infantry, what, 2, 8? So 8-4, so 2-1 outnumber there. They had the 3 peasant archers, which the Empire really didn't have anything good to answer for. You know, I would say Knights of the Blazing Sun could obviously kill them, but he really couldn't afford to try to send them into the back lines, because he needed absolutely every single knight possible to counter the Bretonnian cavalry, which outnumbered him 5-3. So yeah, all in all, I just think this army was having a tough go of it from the beginning, and could have used a lot more chaff infantry, a lot more spearmen maybe. Almost would have ditched the Knights of the Blazing Sun. As much as I do like them, I just think, honestly, in this kind of matchup, maybe more infantry would be better. The Manticore summon didn't really seem to pay off as far as I'm concerned. In Bretonnian matchup, it's not my favorite thing to bring, although the terror routes can be very useful against the Bretonnian peasants and killing Bretonnian leadership. Krishok, thank you very much for the follow, my friend. So yeah, all in all, Loupi putting up a good fight there, but RTK Alrik Rahl, I think, showing how proficient he is with the Bretonnians. He's a very, very solid Bretonnian player. But loading into the map now, let's throw up the intro card and see what we have in store. So here we have it, guys. ODM Loupi with the Wood Elves taking on RTK, Alrik, and the High Elves. This is round 2 and is match point for Alrik. And as a reminder, we do have Australia for Loupi going up against Imperial Russia of Alrik. So let's start with the Wood Elves here, brought by Loupi, and it looks like we're going to start here with 4 Eternal Guard. Going to have the Wardens of Sithral, ROR Wildwood Rangers as well. Going to have 2 Way Watchers, one of which will be the Hawkeyes of Drakira Regiment for now. And we have 2 Wild Riders with shields, and make that 4 Wild Riders with shields. I mean, regardless of how this army does, I like it because I love Wild Riders. Now, for the leadership, we have a Branch Wraith. Branch Wraith is going to have Earthblood, Penumbral Pendulum. I like that spell loadout against the High Elf. Penumbral Pendulum can be very, very useful against all those High Elf archers and infantry formations. And a Glade Lord with Prey of Anathema and nothing else. I do believe that is it for the Wood Elf army. Something about Wood Elf armies just always seems so small to me, and I'm always like, is that it? Is that everything? But I guess we'll see if this finesse build can overwhelm the High Elves, who have brought a very big army. Honestly, I guess it just looks a lot bigger than the High Elves. Than the Wood Elves. It's, just over 100 models higher. But going over the infantry first, looks like we're going to have some spearmen. Keep in mind they do have those silver shields as I mentioned earlier, and that's the only unit of true infantry. Then we're going to be going on to the Lothran Sea Guard, a hybrid infantry missile unit, and they are going to be 5 Lothran Sea Guard with shields, silver shields, keep in mind. So that's a 55% block chance for these archers against the Wood Elves. Very, very nice unit that I approve of in this matchup. Got 2 generic archers in the back, cost efficient, good range. Just add that extra missile power. And then in the very back, we're going to have Illyrian Reavers. Silver Helms with shields, 2 of them, and make that 3 of them, and then more Illyrian Reavers. So all of this cavalry going to be very, very good at countering the Wild Riders that the Wood Elves have on the field. Illyrian Reavers will get dominated, actually, but the 3 Silver Helms, those guys can do very well against Wild Riders, as they have better armor, and the Wild Riders really struggle against armored cavalry. Teclis will be up in the field on top of his Arcane Phoenix. He's going to be bringing Bound Fiery Convocation, Potion of Shakroy, Regrowth, Net of a Mintok, as well as Greater Arcane Conduit, and that will be all. So, time to see who comes out on top here. I think it's really going to come down to who can focus fire the best. I mean, the High Elves definitely have the advantage as far as range goes. 5 Lothran Sea Guard is going to be absolutely dangerous for them to go up against, but these Way Watchers can get some good target prioritization. For example, if these Way Watchers can eliminate some of the Silver Helms quickly, then I guarantee you we'll see these Wild Riders do some massive work as the battle progresses. They have silver shields as well, so 55% missile block chance, which means they're pretty survivable against missile fire from the front. And like I say, if the Way Watchers can get a good net of a Mintok off from the Glade Lord, Prey of Anathema, and then start shooting them down and focusing on this heavy cavalry with their skirmishers, I think the Wild Riders, as long as they can free up the mobile engagements and assert their dominance there, they should be able to have a field day in the back line, eliminating the archers, and then just, trying to eliminate the Lothran Sea Guard piece by piece over time. But it's going to require very patient strategy from the Wood Elves, and I do think they're going to have to play this very, very smart. So once again, I think Loupi going to be the player who has to micro a bit harder, make a bit better plays if he wants to pull this off, because if both players play it evenly, I think the High Elf army would win. Just on paper. One interesting thing here, the Hawkeyes are Drakira. So, they are a Regiment of Renown, so they get the stat boost, but they have a smoke bomb ability, and but other than that, I'm just curious as to why they were brought here. Do they have armor sundering as well as that shield breaker? No, discouraged, 16%, minus 16 leadership. I didn't recognize that. That's quite a powerful trait. Looks like he's coming out here to try and start shooting at some of the Lothran Sea Guard. I'm not sure I would want to give away the position of these guys for that yet. Zet, welcome to the stream. Thank you, thank you. But yeah, looks like he's trying to get in here and start focus firing some of these Lothran Sea Guard down, doing some nice damage initially. But once again, I don't know. I kind of would have liked to have seen them remain hidden for a teensy bit longer before revealing themselves to the High Elf forces. Over here, looks like we're going to see a regrowth going down on top of these Lothran Sea Guard. They've only lost 4 models, so that regrowth will actually be quite good at healing them back up. And yeah, I just don't want to see this Wood Elf ammunition go to waste on shielded Lothran Sea Guard, because as you can see, even though they're taking damage, that missile block chance at 55% is really, really helping them out. Doing some good dodging here with these Wild Riders. Oh, looks like they're going to get that volley in the back, though. And yeah, that regrowth really brought these guys right back up to a very healthy state. Looks like they're trying to target the Glade Lord. The Glade Lord's going to be dipping and diving and dodging and ducking and dipping and diving and dodging. You know what I mean, if you've seen Dodgeball. But anyways, yeah, the Wood Elves are just going to content themselves. They're kind of taking this high ground, the hill. But I would really like to see them move in a bit more aggressively. But oh, Penumbral Pendulum going through and devastating that unit of Lothran Sea Guard. And that is what you want to see here. That is the value the Wood Elves need to be getting if they want to flex those ranged muscles. As long as these Lothran Sea Guard are alive and well, it's going to be a very tough battle, I think, for the Wood Elves. Because really their two choices are they need to kill all the Lothran Sea Guard very quickly, or they need to kill, and so they can deal with the cavalry without worrying about a bunch of missile power, or they need to kill the High Elf cavalry very quickly so they can rush in and engage all of the High Elf infantry at once without worrying about their Wild Riders getting killed and then, you know, getting rear charged by all the remaining High Elf cabs. So I feel like I'm pointing out obvious things, so my apologies if the commentary isn't too on point right now. But over here, going to be seeing these Wild Riders getting focused by some Lothran Sea Guard. The Eternal Guard are coming out to play, though. And so far, both players looking pretty even in the trade. The Lothran Sea Guard are taking some significant damage, though. And here comes another Penumbral Pendulum. And it's going to do some good damage. A nice reaction time from Alrik while there, avoiding what possibly could have just killed them off completely. But the Wood Elves are playing this well so far. Nedivin Mintok is going down on top of the Glade Lord, though. And that is going to be bad news. Oh, my God. Going to see an Earthblood going down on top of him, trying to heal up. And honestly, all of that fire sinking into the Glade Lord right now, although I get it, it's actually probably pretty good for the High Elves that this is getting targeted instead of some of their other units. Teclis is coming in to the fight, and he's going right after that Glade Lord. The Branch Wraith is coming out, though, and here comes a Bound Fiery Convocation. Looks like the Way Watchers are going to be able to avoid it, though, and won't have to worry about it doing any damage. The casting time is just quite significant on that Fiery Convocation. It looks beautiful. Can do a ton of damage, but it's hard to catch quicker units with it. Illyrian Reavers right now getting knocked out by the Wild Rider's shield, and a lot of High Elf units are bunched up here. Can you imagine the Pendulum right now? Oh my God, I think I would die. It would just be so beautiful. Over here, though, we're going to see the Way Watchers firing away, and look at the damage they're doing. Over here, Wild Rider still hanging on, leadership going down a bit for a lot of the High Elf cavalry, and the Wood Elves may be able to get a huge, fat flank done here if they can crush the remainder of this cavalry. And it's looking rough. Praevan and Thraman gone down on Teclis to buy some time, and now the Wood Elf infantry is rushing out of the gates to close the gap and get on top of these High Elf forces. And if the High Elves can keep the momentum up, these Wild Riders can start trying to chase down and completely eliminate the remaining High Elf cavalry. And if they do that, I think it's a GG. And already, look at the balance of power. Tekla taking a ton of damage. ODM Loupi just absolutely going crazy right now. And I am so impressed by what I'm seeing from this Wood Elf army. High Elves really not looking too good at the moment. We'll see if they can start regrouping some of their cavalry, but their cavalry seems to be in tatters for the most part. And the Wild Riders over here on the right flank are also doing a great job in conjunction with the Wardens of Sithral. And it just looks like the High Elves are getting killed very convincingly right now. Waywatcher's about out of ammunition, but Alrik Rawls had enough, and he's going to concede defeat. And holy hell, ODM Loupi playing that beautifully. Hey, Syphos, good to see you, man. Not sure if you just missed that ODM clan member play, but man, the Wood Elves played so well. That was a really well played game to ODM Loupi, and you look at that, he comes back swinging, and he's right back in this best of 3, tying it up 1-1 with a very nice victory from the Wood Elves over the High Elves. And whew, yeah, the Penumbral Pendulums, the Waywatcher Focus Fire was doing wonders. Like, that was just very nicely played. Fisttech VM, thank you so much for the follow, man. But yeah, like, that's why I love the tournament games at this level, is just both of the players can get very convincing victories, can just like really dominate on the field of battle and keep coming back at each other. And after that first battle, you know, I think Alrik Rawls had a very convincing victory. Series 70, thank you for the follow. But ODM Loupi didn't let it get him tilted, came right back, and was able to win that second round in a very convincing fashion as far as I'm concerned. I was very worried for it a lot of times there, but you know, he just kept that pressure up, and especially a big shout out to Penumbral Pendulum. Sir Bald, thank you for the follow. That Penumbral Pendulum, I mean, those Penumbral Pendulums, plural, were really helping against the Lothran Sea Guard. EC Walks, thank you for the follow. Thank you guys so much. Happy to see so many new faces in the chat today. Yeah, that was just beautiful gameplay across the board. So let's throw up that intro card and get to the battle. So here we have it. ODM Loupi with the High Elves taking on Alrik Rawls and the Empire. This is round 3 of their best of 3. Winner takes all, and the loser is sent to the losers bracket. Abams, thank you for following, my friend. And let's get to it. Looks like they're about to load into the match now, and it should be a good time. Okay, so going over here to the Empire first, we are going to see 2 Empire Knights and another 2. So that's a total of 4 Empire Knights on either side. We have 2 Outriders. For the infantry, we have an assortment of Spearmen with shields. Looks like we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, as well as 2, 3 units of Swordsmen, one of which will be the Sigmar's Sons Unbreakable Regiment of Renown. So, aside from that, going over here to the right flank of the Empire forces, our left, we're going to see 2 mortars on the field of battle. Going to have our caster, who is going to be a Jade Wizard on foot, with Regrowth, Earthblood, and Lifebloom, just kind of chilling here by this lovely ruin of a church or a tower. Your guess is as good as mine. Got Karl Franz up in the air on top of Deathclaw. He's going to have Galmaraz, the Reichland Runefang, as well as Stand Your Ground, Foe Seeker, Hold the Line, and Blood Roar, of course, because of his mount. Now, for the High Elves, let's go take a look at this. Yeah, Losers Bracket's going to be playing Halcon while we watch this, just because we can't, unfortunately, watch that bracket and the Winners Brackets. Otherwise, I don't think the players would have time to finish. Now, we have 3 Shadow Warriors up front for the High Elves to start off with. Behind them, we're going to have 2 Rangers and what appears to be 2 units of High Elf Spearmen. Going to have Silverhelms with shields, the Rahagra's Pride, the Regiment of Renown Warlines of Trace, and then we are going to see on the left flank a hidden force. That's going to consist of 2 Dragon Princes, along with Imric and a Mage of Life. Now, the Life Mage will have Earthblood and Awakening of the Wood, and Imric will have the Star Lance, Dragonhorn, and the Lord of Dragons. So, very interesting loadout for both armies. I'd say the High Elves a bit more atypical from what I'm used to seeing in the Empire. Looks like one of the more traditional Empire builds I'd see. We'll see how the mortars do, but fortunately for the High Elves, the decision to bring these Shadow Warriors will kind of negate a lot of the value from the mortars until they can actually get eyes on the enemy. Yeah, there's a loser's bracket, but they're playing right now. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, this is going to be a longer tournament than usual, more than likely, especially with a best-of-7 final. So stay tuned, guys. There's a lot more to come. Carl Fran's going to be flying around, doing some dancing in the air. Shadow Warriors keeping their distance. Definitely think they want to keep their presence unknown for as long as possible. And as we saw last game, though, I mean, ODM Loupi just played beautifully with those Way Watchers, so we'll see if he can repeat that success here with the Shadow Warriors or not. Alright, looks like Outriders are coming out to play a bit. We'll see what they do, but you gotta be careful. If Teclis does a good net of a Mintalk on top of them, these Shadow Warriors will be able to delete them quite convincingly, I think. Looks like a mortar is going to be fired off at Teclis this time. We're going to see more shots going into the Spearmen. And they have bronze shields, so 35% missile block chance, but not going to be as much damage negation as we saw in the previous round with those high elf Spearmen that have silver shields. Mortars going into the Eternal Guard, but narrowly missing. Some of them are targeting Imrik. Definitely don't want to be doing that. Pretty sure he has fire resistance anyways, which he does at 45% because he is the Lord of Dragons. He's the Dragon Lord after all. And yeah, both players playing this patiently. The Empire just sitting back, letting their mortars do the talking for them, and the Shadow Warriors coming forward every now and again just to poke and prod and damage the high elf the Empire infantry.
Don't give them an inch!
Yeah, getting some good damage in. We'll see if they continue to just focus on the infantry. I mean, honestly, they've already gotten a very good amount of damage done. Earthblood going in to try to heal some of that back up. And considering they've had minimal model kills, they look like they should be able to heal up quite a lot. But, ooh, that last volley just did some mean work. Alright, Carl Franz is coming out. Looks like he's trying to threaten the Shadow Warriors, get some scouting done. But it doesn't look like he's actually going in for a kill or anything just yet. I think he recognizes he does not want to get overextended when Teclis is on the field with a potential, or sorry, when Imrik is on the field, because Imrik can hold his own in combat. All right, Carl Franz going down. He's getting into combat with Imrik right now, but Lord of Dragons has popped on top of him. And that's not what he wants. He's going to see defense and attack dissipate. But, yeah, he's going to get out of there unscathed for the most part. And the Shadow Warrior's not going to be taking too much damage after that trade. Yeah, I think a Metal Mage would have been very nice here. Got to agree with you there, Jake. It really helps. Get that Plague of Rust Overcast, minus 60 armor, and you can just start melting units. And right now, the Shadow Warriors, they've used up about over half their ammunition across the board, it seems, and that's going to be, you know, painful. They need every last bit of ammunition they have to take care of important units right now, and I'm not seeing the most value gained from the Shadow Warriors at the moment. Going after these Spearmen, once again, by the looks of it. Almost would have rather have targeted this Spearman because it looks like there's kind of 3 units bunched up right here. But the mortars also need to be taken off fire at will and continue focusing on the important units, I think. I've seen them shooting at Imrik one too many times. There goes an Earthblood on top of this pocket of Empire infantry. Mortars being avoided by the Shadow Warriors quite nicely, but oh, as I say that, of course I jinx them, and that one just falls right into the center of their formation. Oh my goodness, Rahagra's Pride just diving into Spearmen right now, knocking them over. And wow, yeah, their brace didn't help too much there. They're losing decisively, and in come Silver Helms now. And bada bing, bada boom. Now they're going to all try and turn away before Carl Franz and the Empire Knights come back to get their revenge. Emmerich going in, getting a nice big hit on top of Karl Franz right there. And now we're going to see Empire Knights and Silver Helms, and Dragon Princes clash against each other here in the front lines. I do think the Empire has an advantage here since they have their infantry up there with them, but now the Rangers are closing the gap, and we'll see. They're pretty good at mopping up a lot of this low-tier Empire infantry, to be sure. And now the High Elves are just pushing into the back lines with Silver Helms and Emmerich, and Rahagara's Pride look like they're coming in to fight as well. We'll see if they pop that Lion Roar to debuff the speed and leadership of the nearby Empire Knights. Over here, Shadow Warriors doing a wonderful job against the Outriders, just shutting them down while they have the chance. Over here, though, the Empire bringing in a lot of forces, and we'll see. This might be what turns it around for the Empire here in this big cav engagement, but the Dragon Princes are now getting sent in, the High Elf Spearmen are getting sent in, and the Empire Knights are starting to take some serious damage. And Awakening of the Wood, a big fat one going down on top of this Empire infantry, doing a lot of work, and the balance of power pretty much dead even, maybe slightly in favor of the Empire at the moment. Shadow Warriors do look like they're about to be out of ammunition completely. Still getting a lot of good damage in there, and oh man, I really can't tell who's going to come out on top of this blob engagement. Emmerich is still very healthy, Karl Franz is still very healthy, but the Empire Knights look like they're just kind of getting worn down. The Shadow Warriors shooting them in the back as they're pinned in combat with the High Elf Cavalry. We see the Life Mage coming in here to fight, but now we have Empire Knights getting in on top of her. And if that Life Mage goes down, that's going to be an absolutely devastating loss for the High Elves. Meanwhile, Rahagara's Pride, in conjunction with the Silver Helms and Dragon Princes, doing some good work. Another good Awakening of the Wood going down on top of some of this Empire infantry, causing some good damage. And, man, this is a close one, guys. This is a very close one. The balance of power still dead even. Empire, there goes another Empire Knight, starting to rout. This Empire Knight looks like it's getting close to routing. The infantry engagement looks like it's gone to the High Elves. And now it's Emmerich and Karl Franz in combat. And man, I don't know how it's going to go. All I know is the Empire Knights seem to be losing the combat as it wears on. And if the Empire Knights go, then I don't know if Karl Franz will be able to solo this High Elf army by his lonesome. And it does look like most of the Empire infantry, besides some spearmen over here on another side of the battlefield, have been dealt with. And there goes Rahagara's Pride getting popped finally. -8 leadership and -25% speed. I think the Empire is not in a good position, and I do believe our High Elf player ODM Loupi is smelling some blood in the water now, and that Rahagara's Pride is going to make it hard for Karl Franz and some of these other units to escape. And oh, look at that, a big fat hit from Emmerich, and Karl Franz is on the ground. Is he stuck? Is he going to die? If he dies right here, it may be it, and Alrik is going to concede defeat. And our #1 seeded player is going to get sent down to the losers bracket to fight for his life. That was a really great series indeed, and once again, another big shout out to ODM Loupi for playing these skirmish builds so well. I really thought I don't want to say I didn't have faith in him, but I mean, I thought Alrik was looking really strong there right up to the point where he wasn't. And then ODM Loupi just sealing the deal with some nice play from Emmerich, some very keen micro from his cavalry, exploiting gaps, Awakening of the Woods, blowing up the Empire infantry. And like, honestly, in hindsight, his targeting of the Empire infantry really won him the game, because by the time the High Elf infantry got up there, got engaged, the Empire infantry was pretty easy to rout, it seemed, across the board. So not having the meat shields for the Empire Knights allowed the High Elves just to kind of shine there. Dragon Princes absolutely smash Empire Knights, no doubt in my mind. And Jom, thank you very much for the follow, my friend. But yeah, even shooting into the shields, not my favorite targeting for the most part, but I mean, he took the targeting opportunities that were presented to him. I think he recognized that if he got the infantry weak enough, his Rangers could mop them up without too much issue. And then the Dragon Princes, like I say, against Empire Knights, they just really outclass him. And even the Silver Helms with Shields outclass him too. So Emmerich being there on the horse to counter Karl Franz and his aggressive play was a really nice pick. But great game, Alrik. Best of luck in the losers bracket. And ODM Loupi, congrats on moving forward to the next round of the winners bracket.